We're back working on the Foxbody again. Since last time y'all saw it, I pulled the transmission out at least 2 or 3 different times. The 4L60 in there would not work. I don't know if it was tore up or I'm not sure. I was told it worked fine, but it did not go in any gear, not forward, not backwards. It didn't do anything. So, since then, I got. Turn my camera a little bit on. A rebuilt Jasper transmission from my buddy. It is Turbo 400, which is a little older than what I had, so obviously it's a little bit different, but the drive shaft did still fit, so no big deal there. But the flywheel, or I'm sorry, the flex wheel, you should call it, had a stock one. The bolt pattern for the actual torque converter does not line up. The bolt holes are very close, but they're not the same. Also had to get an actual adapter to go in there to make it fit the torque converter, because the actual snout of the crank is not the same as the old one. It's actually tapered and whatever. So I went ahead and ordered this from ICT Billet. So it's actually got, I believe, 21 holes, so you can bolt up, I think, 7 different patterns up in there. So you actually can hook up any torque converter you want, any transmission pretty much. I assume they have. It was like $200, but I did go ahead and get the bolts that come with it, and I believe the actual adapter. I didn't have one, but I got an extra one just in case. So I do have the old bolts. They probably would have worked, but I trust new stuff. I'm gonna thread lock the bolt so I know nothing comes loose. So I guess give me a few minutes. I'm gonna start taking it apart or start putting it back together. I'll be right back. Alright, after an hour or so, I'll just kind of skip ahead. I do have the transmission back in. It is bolted up. The drive shaft is in. The ship linkage, I just kind of had a half-ass like just zip tie up because it's for the Mustang and I'm not sure if it'll work. But I still got to put the intake manifold back on because I want to pull it out. There was a top bolt on the transmission I could not get to. It's like under the firewall in a shitty spot. So long story short, I had to take it off. Now I got everything up there. I still got to go ahead and bolt the starter back up, then take on, come up with some kind of cross member or transmission mount, I'll call it, to hold the transmission up. Because as of now, it's just the motor mount bolts. So, guess give me a few, or give me like an hour or so. I'll have the intake back on and brush this up, button up. After a little bit of a struggle, I got it all back together. I had to want to replace the intake gaskets and cutting the firewall a little bit to actually clear for the intake. It's very close with this big ass truck manifold. I'm gonna replace it later, but for free it definitely works. Now I just got to go ahead and start the car up, put more training fluid in it, and just kind of run through the gears, make sure it's all gonna work. I did go ahead and jack the car up that way, in case it won't jump in gear or do something weird when I get out of the car. I ain't worried about done, or my car being down the mountainside. So I guess give me a few minutes. I'm gonna start her up and see what we got. Alright, at least has reverse. After finding a terrible ass leak, just from one of the 90-degree fittings that goes to the trans cooler, it just one like this one up top, but it's one at the bottom. Just where it was in a shitty spot, you couldn't really reach it. I just didn't have it all the way tight. Then up on the actual back of the transmission, actually on the side, I had a leak there too. It just had a spot where you really can't reach a wrench. It was like a half a turn or a quarter of a turn for me and two, or not that enough. But did that, top it off. I put it in gear and it actually goes in reverse. I do got to figure out my shift linkage because it will not work as is. So either got to start this bitch in gear and just go, or figure something out. Then my brakes ain't trying to act right, so I don't know if I hit a brake, busted a brake line, or the master cylinder's taking a shit, or I'm not sure. I guess I'm gonna cross that bridge in a minute. Alright, glad I didn't go too far. I wanted to actually find out what the problem was. The back right brake line actually rusted a hole. where this actual little tab is. I guess it's from, I don't know, I'm assuming it's from 87, so I'm assuming it's just old. But I'm going to go to Napa, get me a piece of line, bend it, and make it, and bleed the brakes, then go back to the transmission. Alright, good news. I have to play with the shift linkage. I did get it to actually drive forward and back. I gotta play with it more later, but that's good enough for tonight. It's scaring it dark. Tomorrow I gotta actually take the linkage out. I'm gonna cut a bracket and see if I can make it work. And I gotta make a transmission mount. I'll show you that in a second. I'm literally taking a piece of DOM. It's actually two pieces. I kind of sleeve together. I'm gonna take a plate, drill one hole or two holes, depending on how good I want to mount it. And I have a piece of DOM for this side and this side under the car is sleeves. Tomorrow I'll kind of elaborate a little more when I start making it. You'll kind of understand a little more. Alright, pretty sure I got too far. This is what I came up with the transmission cross member. It was literally just some old DOM tube we had. Just some, I believe it was this, I think it's 1.5 DOM. Just the stuff like they build like roll cages and other stuff out of. I basically just cut sections out to like, I think 4.5 inches, I believe, like this size for both sides. Took two 1 foot pieces, but obviously if you have a 2 foot piece, it'd be easier just as that's what I had left. And at the bottom, this big thick plate for the bottom was at to space out the actual bolt holes to fit the cross member. So basically, it's just metal plate I added to the bottom of it. These little things are actually just off the old jack handle I just cut off. It's pretty thick stuff, just to add a spacer. It was easier trying to buy something. This is something I come up with. Just welded it around, welded it obviously, welded it around here. I didn't have any spacers for it, so I'll show y'all what it did. Give me a second. Alright, not spacers. I didn't have bushings or rubber, so I took just some old sockets. I believe they're 13, 16. I'm sorry, this one's a 21 millimeter. But inside of the, actually, it has a nice hole to hold your bolt. So just for temporary to make the car actually drive down the road, make sure it shifts gears, and where I spent a bunch of money buying stuff, this is a simpler route. Within a week or two, I'm going to take it out, make it a little bit more pretty, and make a new one. But as of now, this is what I'm going to use. Alright, after a coat of paint, definitely looks a lot better. Definitely not perfect, but I wouldn't want it perfect anyway. But while I was waiting for the paint to dry, I did happen to find bushings I had from a Honda Civic, I believe, or an Integra. Metal sleeves to go in between, so it kind of looks like this when you get done. More like it'll be like that inside of the actual DOM tube versus some sockets I had. So glad I waited, because that's so much better to have than some damn sockets, and I could obviously use my sockets. So I guess give me a few. We'll go ahead and start putting it all together and make sure it fits before I get too far. Alright, after like 20 minutes of grinding it with the flapper disc and the damn belt sander, I think this is a way better option. Essentially, I just had damn sockets in there. This was just a temporary, just get you down the road deal, but I found this bushing, so that's way easier. Now I just got to take this side, cut it down, I believe a 1/4 inch or so on each side, because the bushing actually sticks out a little bit, so I had to take a 1/2 inch of that out, or 1/4 inch out, I'm not sure, I measured a second ago. But go in here and make sure it all fits, and I'm gonna come right back. Alright, I was gonna film that, but I don't have much space in my car. But it is officially bolted to the transmission, bolted up to the actual car. So I'd say for some free metal and 2 bolts from the hardware store, this cost me $5 to make. So if you're trying to look for something cheap, that's definitely a good idea. It might not be pretty, but it definitely works. Alright, we're gonna record more, but I went ahead and took it down the road, it does actually shift at a first and a second. So I didn't go very far because obviously it's not street legal, so I didn't want to go too far and get pulled over. But should everything work, it just won't shift into park. But I'll address that later. So I'm not really worried about park. As long as the car goes in all the gears, I'm straight with that. It's better than buying like a $400 shifter. That was literally a couple bolts and a little bracket that was like $12. So guess let me see what else I can do, and I'll be right back. Alright, I went for a couple more rides on the road. Had to fill the transmission up 3 different times. Now that the pump's filling up, it does seem to feel better, like it's more engaging, more, and seems to be a little better, but the motor's acting funny. I don't know if the computer's got a limiter in that or some kind of, I'm not sure. I have another computer I'm going to try tomorrow, but I think I'm just going to end the video here. That way it's not a long, drawn out thing. When I figure out what it is, I'll shoot another video and kind of let you know what I find and kind of go from there. Guess till next time, guys. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, let me know what you think. Have a good day.
Yeah. Please tell me that I can't, that I won't, that I fail, that I'll never make it out, yeah. Please tell me all the bad, never good. Fill my head full of every single doubt, yeah. Please